The clock is now running on the Playbook podcast, the podcast where you take a deeper dive into the game of business, leadership, teamwork, character, the things that drive your motivation and build dedication. When you get a good look at the game plan of great business leaders, you start to formulate your own playbook and your own rise to the top. Make your next play your best play. And now, here are today's game captains, Glenn Amaral and Andy Phillips. Let's go!
And welcome back to the Playbook podcast. Andy Phillips. Joining me as always is Glenn Amaral. Glenn, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I got my headphones. Check me out.
You look fantastic.
I know,
right?
You
got the headphones working. You sound great.
I know.
So this episode is just you and I. And for those of you that have listened to us in the past, A, we appreciate it. But B, you're used to us, putting questions on the tee for our interviewees to swing at. And this is a time for us to do two things. A, we want to thank everyone. We started this project back in, January of this year. So now that we're ending the year, we wanted to, A, thank everyone for listening. Thanks for all the support. We appreciate it. And then we also wanted to kind of just, again, peel back the curtain of who me and Glenn are, because it's, we try to do our best to highlight the person we're interviewing, because we have such great leaders and business people that come on our podcast that we want to highlight them, and we want to kind of just stay out of it, really just, quarterback the thing a little bit, but let them make the plays. And so we wanted to kind of, it's been a year since you've heard Glenn and I do a podcast, just us two together. So we wanted to do that for you guys, and we're just going to freewheel this thing. We're going to still do a first half, a halftime, and a second half, but there's not going to be much of a we're not going to box in anything. It's going to be
not much open substance, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, but it's not going to be, we're not going to stick to categories. We're just going to
let it flow, right?
This is fun because for those of you that are watching maybe on Facebook and see the video, those of you who aren't, though, we have no notes in front of us. We didn't prep for this. This is as if you're walking into our office on a Monday morning and me and Glenn are game planning, but more, direct questions. So with that being said, Glenn, I want to kick this thing to you.
All right.
So this is a question I like for you because I know you. So in our line of business, there's many ways that you can meet people. There's many ways that you can get in front of an organization to talk about the risk management programs. One of the ways is through your centers of influences, which are just building your network of people that refer you because they know the type of person you are, that refer you because they know the kind of work that you do. You have an unbelievable center of influence, unbelievable network. Talk to me a little bit and our listeners a little bit about the importance that has, how important that's been for you in your career and your rise throughout the last few.
Well, that makes me sound good. It is a great point, though. You really do need to surround yourself with great people. And one of the things, as you know, you're up in the Lehigh Valley, and I'm down here more in southeastern Pennsylvania. And one of the things that really got me rolling was the Mainline Chamber of Commerce. So shout out to them. But just going to the meetings, whenever they had a meeting, getting to know people. And before you know it, you walk into a room and you know people. And then that just kind of blossomed to, joining the Rotary so you can make a difference in your community. And you also get to meet some great people. And it just, it's a time commitment. It's not something, it's like, hey, hi, I'm here. Send me some business. It's
right.
It's really, how you put it as a priority, like if you get in on a board of directors for a charity, do it for the right reasons and good things will come.
I love that. And you do a tremendous job at that. And it's because you're just yourself. You're not there. Like you said, you're not walking in and asking people for business. You're walking in and you're just figuring out ways you can help whatever it is. If it's the Rotary, if it's the chamber, you're just there to be yourself, meet great people. And then it's a cherry on top if it ends up turning into business for you.
Right. And just being a resource, sometimes It's like, hey, here's a good restaurant to go. Just being a person, not, forcing the issue, because, when you become a resource, then people come to you. I mean, and it's really who I am, and I think it's who you are as well. So it just kind of comes naturally. So it's not forced.
It's a two-way street. You can't just expect them to, give you referrals. You have to know what they do and know what they're looking for and do the same their way as well.
Oh, exactly. I'm super excited when I can refer somebody to, one of my, somebody in my circle of influence that's just an amazing person and they do a great job. That feels good.
No doubt.
I mean, and that doesn't come lightly. So it's really important that you do get to know people, because if you just refer people for the sake of referring, it can, turn around and bite you for sure.
And it won't last long.
No, not at all. So, Andy, my question to you is, we've started this podcast in 2020 in the beginning, right? Yep. 2021, I guess, January. See, I'm losing track of years in this.
Yeah, well, we started talking about it in the end of 2020, but it didn't kick off till the first quarter of 2021.
Right. So in this past year, what have you seen? And, talking to your customers, your partners, and what are you seeing? What has changed from the pandemic? I know people are sick of it, but it's a reality. Things have changed in the business landscape. And how do you see it affecting your business owners that and how have they handled it?
The biggest change has been labor shortage. And a lot of times, especially if you're in the construction, HVAC contractor, whatever world you're in, there's a shortage of workers. And it's not just the number of workers, it's the number of quality workers. And that can affect you long term. And what I mean by that is, there's the obvious. If I'm a contractor and I don't have, I'm used to having 40 employees and I only have 20, well, safe to say you're probably only able to do about half the jobs and bid on half the jobs that you're used to doing. So obviously that's affecting you. But there's the other factor of, I'm still trying to hire people and they're not as good. And then,
right, that's a point that I was getting at.
Now you come into two issues. Yeah. You come into your quality of work. How does that affect your business? Is it still high quality? Are these people doing the job that they're supposed to do, just taking longer? Or is it affecting the product? But also, it's affecting your risk management. It's affecting your safety, because if the worker, they might be skilled at the profession, but if they don't have the passion for it or the care, they're not going to care about the safety that goes along with it. And that's when claims happen. That's when injuries happen. That's when things worse than an injury could happen. And that's the last thing you want. And that affects you long-term, as we know, because your claims history ultimately affects what you're spending on your insurances going forward. And that's going to be an issue that we've already, I think, seen, and we're going to keep seeing, is as these lower number of workers and people who want to work in the trades industries, it's either going to be the companies are losing revenue because they can't find the workers to bid on the jobs that they're allowed. I mean, I have people telling me all the time, I could do more work, I don't have the employees. Or you're going to be hiring people that are going to be a total risk. And either way, I think it's dangerous. Either way, I think it's scary. I think people are going to figure it out. I mean, if people could get through 2020, I think people will be okay. But that's my scare. That's my worry, especially in the trades world and the contractors world.
It really seems like the power's with the employee right now, and they're exerting their power. And it is true, because I've heard, businesses are lowering their standards to hire people, because you have to get bodies in there. I mean, it's like, I have an addiction. It's called coffee. And I've been going to trying to hit a Starbucks when I'm out visiting somebody, and it's like they close at 1:00, or they're drive through only. So, and they're offering a lot. They're offering, education. I mean, all kinds of perks, and they're still having trouble getting people. So it's interesting times, and it's going to be something that I think that business is going to innovate. I think it's the way we look at employment is going to change.
Agreed.
And whoever
Agreed.
leads that, that fight is going to be the winner.
I want to put you on the spot, and it's similar to your question you asked me, but it's more directed at you personally. What has been the biggest challenge you've personally had in your professional career over the last year or so, maybe 2 years? What has been something that you've had that maybe, I'm not saying a failure, I'm saying just like something that you've maybe had to emphasize more because it's now become an issue, or it could be as simple as you lost an account and you had to go back and do some self-scouting of how did we lose this? What has been maybe some challenges that you've faced the last couple of years that you've had to work on overcoming?
Well, I've been rather fortunate, I guess, the last year or so. My retention has been really good. And, some of when you do lose an account, which I've lost accounts, you do have to reflect. And, sometimes it's totally on me. Like I could have done a better job. And I guess you could appreciate that. It's like coach speech.
Yeah, absolutely.
It falls to me. I could have done a better job.
Buck stops here.
So, but it's true. Like, was I neglectful? Did I get lazy? And, I try to constantly think about that so I can, every couple months, you got to remind yourself to really put yourself out there. And
for sure.
And, because, if you're not there, somebody else is going to be there. So I think, what happened during the pandemic, a lot of people, I was just out there talking to people, for whatever reason. It didn't even have to be insurance. So that taught me to, just deepen my relationships, so I think when things like this come down the pike, you kind of get a little bit stronger. And as I was telling you before, I had I have a huge claim going on, and there's things that just aren't covered. Right. So how do you deal with that? I mean, a lot of people's natural inclination is to just kind of give short answers and, let the adjuster take care of it. But as I told you, it's like, you got to go into the, run into the fire and you'll get less burned. And it's really coming true, because they know that they call me at any time. I pick up the phone, I deal with it. Sometimes they're not happy, and that's okay. I'm there to deal with it and take it, even though it's nothing I've done wrong.
Yep.
But what I've done right is not run away from it. Face it.
I like how you said, if it's not you, someone else is going to be talking to them. And it reminds me of when I signed in Green Bay, I got the probably the best word of advice you can get when you sign with an NFL team. And it's just simply old saying in the NFL: the day you get signed, they're looking for your replacement. Now, it's not as drastic in our world, but it's true. And that's why building the relationship is so important for us. But again, it's if you're AWOL for a little bit, if you're, too busy to check in, I mean, you better be wary because somebody else might be.
Yeah. I mean, it's got me thinking. I mean, today, what I'm going to do is just check in with people, see how they're doing. Right. Because
absolutely,
that's just as important as trying to get new business and worried about.
Well, I you talked about retention earlier. If your retention goal might be 95% for the year, your winning an account goal is not near 95%. It's a lot easier to keep an account. I mean, can you imagine if you walked into every proposal you did and you had a 95% chance of winning? I mean, that's just not how it is. So it's value the people that you are working with, value them, because that's why I look at it. That's what you look at it. We're working with these people. We're on the same team to make their experience better.
This is really like therapy, Andy. I'm like, okay, I got to do this. I mean, that's really why I do it. It's like, I hope, and I'd love to hear what other people that have listened to this think and what they've gotten out of any of our episodes and the people we've talked to. I mean, there's so much that I get. So if I'm the only one that it benefits, that's great, because I've learned a lot from you and anybody else I talk to. And I try to always be, kind of a open.
And that's the best part about a podcast is not every podcast is going to resonate with everybody. Not every part of the podcast is going to mean as much. But if you get one thing, if you take away one thing that like, hey, you know, that relates to me, that helps me, it's like a good movie. Sometimes, you know, I don't know how many scenes there are in a movie. Let's say there's 15 different scenes. Very likely at the end of the movie, 2 scenes are going to stick in your head.
Right.
Because they're the ones that resonate with you or the most impactful. So, you know, that's been fun for us. And I agree. Like every time we're interviewing somebody, me and you take so much away from it. And I'd like to hear from people. So again, if you're listening, we'd love to hear you. Comment at us on LinkedIn, Andy Phillips or Glenn Amaral, or the Yurconic Agency. And just let us know maybe some of your favorite episodes. Let us know maybe a specific talking point that you liked. And we'd love to hear some feedback.
Yeah, or what you'd like to see us do better.
Absolutely. Which again, you might not have enough characters on LinkedIn to be able to do that, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot that you have to write in that section. So I don't know if there's a 140 limit like there is on Twitter, but you need to send us an email of a chapter book of, hey guys, you need to do this better. We understand.
I gotcha. So as we go into 2022,
crazy.
what are your thoughts? What do you think are the biggest risks from risk management? Because really, as we talk all the time, is what's happened in the insurance industry is we've become a commodity, right? And so if somebody thinks we're a commodity, it's not even worth working with them. So we care about the bottom line. What's the biggest risk that's going to affect the bottom line in 22?
So do you actually want to know? I'm taking this in a completely different route than I'm sure you're expecting.
Okay.
I'm sure you're expecting me to say something like, oh, cyber, or, you know, umbrella limits, or this. That's all stuff we need to talk about, but that's what it comes down to. I think the biggest risk, especially today, is lack of communication. I think we have to be very clear with every single person we talk to about what they're covered for and what they're not. I think that is almost the biggest risk that we can have, is not informing people maybe changes in the policy. And I'll give you an example. You know, I had a renewal client, or a client with a renewal in their property coverage, and there was a huge difference in the policy. The old was replacement cost, and the other one was actual.
Yeah, right.
Little things like that, you know, I can't speak for other agents in our industry, but if you don't go over it, do they really know? Are they going to ask you? You know, it depends on the client. Some people aren't as detailed. So it's up to us to be, you know, because I think we both have seen interesting claims this year. And you talk about your big one.
Right.
We both have seen some interesting claims this year. And if we didn't have the communication up front about some things, you know, and hey, what you're covered for, what you're not, that's the biggest risk to us and really to them, because sometimes you can talk things out so there's not surprises. And so there's not that big shock. The last thing you want is somebody to have a claim and them to think, oh, I hope I'm covered. You want them to know yes or no. You want them to know yes or no, like, oh, we got coverage, or they recommended this, you know, this insurance and we didn't get it, so we know we're not covered. Like, to me, communication and really lack thereof is the biggest risk, in my opinion, because I think we're to the point in where we're at, where we're bringing up just about everything. You know, it's no longer that cyber is just a throw and we don't talk about it. Now we bring it up every time. So I think communication is huge, because there really shouldn't be any missed opportunities.
I mean, now, excuse me, cyber was a throw in, and now we're looking at $1 million limits.
Correct.
And now that's like, yesterday, and now it's like 2 million, 5 million. And it's,
and cyber is
to communicate.
Risk. But we need to communicate it.
I mean, the cost of these phishing attacks, ransomware is amazing. I mean, to requote what we've said probably, hundreds of times, 60% of small businesses are going to get hacked. And a lot of them are going to go out of business.
Which, for the non-math wizards out there, that means if you're a small business, it's more than likely you're going to get hacked than it isn't. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Wow.
That education of yours, man,
this isn't just a hat rack up here.
Right. I mean, now everybody that has a cyber policy, standalone, it's got to have a multi-factor authentication. I actually remembered it.
Yeah.
MFA, right?
That's right. And the key again is it's up to us to communicate it.
Right.
The biggest because how do we expect our clients who, let's face it, I had a great, very knowledgeable person who's been in this industry for 40 years tell me, you talk about insurance every day. We talk about insurance almost every day, especially every day of the work week. The insured, the company talks about it a couple times a year. So to expect them to know everything that's going on in the market trends and in the highest risk in the new areas like you're talking about, it's foolish of us to assume they know that. So it's up to us to communicate it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the most important pages of our proposal probably is our recommendations.
100%.
And not just say, hey, here's our recommendations, but to actually say, hey, flood, cyber, really just kind of let people know. It's like, at the end of the day, it's the customer's choice, but to know that they were recommended those coverages, because you're going to wish you had flood if you flooded, even though you haven't flooded in 100 years or whatever.
We're advisors. We give our advice. End of the day, it's up to you whether they want to take certain things, but it's up to us to advise. So
absolutely.
Alrighty, Glenn. Halftime. For those of you that have not listened to us before, halftime is a 10 random questions that are sometimes one word, sometimes a small explanation. It's a lightning round per se. And I want to do that still with you, Glenn. And I typically do this with our guests, so you can have your coffee break. And if I want to do this with you, and I want to give you just
I'll be back. I'm going to go get coffee.
Yeah. All right. So question number 1 of the lightning round. Are you ready?
Oh boy. I'm as ready as I'll ever be, I guess.
When did you first start drinking coffee? And I know you drink it straight black now. How did you start drinking it?
I drank it like sludge in college, because when you're, a single young man in college and you got to study, it's like, there's no cream, there's no sugar. So you just force it down. And that's how it became a reality. And it's so much, as much as coffee I drink, it saves a lot of calories.
Oh yeah. And I when I started drinking it, I was like, I'm just gonna drink this straight and black, because I don't want to get into the scenario where I'm somewhere and they don't have cream and sugar and I can't have my coffee. So I just started drinking. I'm like, probably not gonna like it anyways, but I'll get used to it. And after a couple of cups, I liked it. So
yeah, absolutely. I got a coffee bar now. I'm excited.
I've seen. I saw where it was gonna be. Glenn's making some reservations and it looks fantastic, but I haven't seen the full coffee bar. You just show me where it's gonna be.
Absolutely. Well, you have to come over and have some coffee.
Absolutely. We'll get wired. All right. Second question is, if you could go back to college and you're not allowed to be in the insurance industry, what would you, going in as a freshman, what would you want to major in?
Ugh.
Yeah. These right here are tough. You thought the
like
question
if I were going back now, I mean, because when I went to college, everything was different.
It's as if you're 18 years old today, like in the year 2021.
I would definitely marketing.
Okay.
Because there's so much to learn. So, there's the creative, there's the analytics, and it's the future, and it's something you need to know. And I wish I knew more about it.
I like it.
I like it. So I think that would be useful for whatever you decide to do. Okay. So, for example, if you started any type of business, a bakery, and you had that skill set, man, you're ahead of the game.
I like it. I like
bakeries too.
You do like bakeries. All right. I'm going to throw 3 sports out to you. Okay.
Okay. I'm ready.
Of these 3 sports, you get to play one the rest of your life. You get to watch one for the rest of your life. And the other one is as if it doesn't exist to you for the rest of your life.
All right.
Football, golf, and basketball. So you get to play one the rest of your life. You get to watch one the rest of your life. And the other one does not exist in Glenn Emerald's world anymore. What would they be?
play for the rest of my life would be golf.
That felt easy after I said it.
Yeah.
You don't want to play football?
What's that?
You don't want to play football?
No, my body hurts just thinking about it. And then football would be my watch for the rest of my life.
And the Sixers can
Sorry, Ben.
go to hell for you. All right. That was a gimme. I'm going to get harder now.
Oh, boy.
You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Maybe. You get to go to one vacation destination for a week's time, all expenses paid. You can bring one person with you. I'm assuming it would be your wife, Mary. Where would you go? What is the dream vacation? Cost does not matter. COVID does not matter in this scenario.
My dream vacation would be to, I think Greece, but you know what? My wife loved Italy so much. I've never been there. And to see her joy and to, how could you go wrong? To check out the Amalfi Coast it's just got to be phenomenal.
For a guy that loves wine and pizza, I would go to Italy and maybe never come back.
Well, that's what she said. She says, I'd love to go and never come back.
I mean, that's my dream as well. So that's what you said that. All right. What was your very first car? Year, make, model, color, if you have it?
It was a white Honda Civic. And your make, a model, what am I forgetting? I think it was gosh, I don't even remember. I think it was like 1978.
Next question. What's your dream car? Year, make, model, color?
Well, I'm not a super car guy. I mean, I'd love to have a Mercedes, like the AMG.
Okay.
Yeah.
What color?
I think I'd go black.
Yeah. Mercedes looks great. The black Mercedes just look fantastic.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list, but
do you like the Mercedes that have the big Mercedes logo right there on the front, or do you like the one that sticks up like the pendant? That's more of an old school look, but it's classy.
Yeah, I think I like the new school. It looks pretty cool.
The new school? Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. You're a big coffee guy.
Yes.
If you had to give up coffee, I'd pray for you, but if you had to give up coffee, what would your drink of choice in the morning be? Would you be like a Diet Coke guy? Would you be an orange juice? Would you be a hot tea? What would you go to?
Well, 100% not Diet Coke.
Yeah.
I've accidentally had like one sip of that. Oh my goodness. So I have no use for soda if you're not putting Jack Daniels in it. So I would definitely go with hot tea.
Okay.
There's something about the experience. It's not so much the the drink itself. Like when you sit, out on your deck or out on your patio, or it's just a nice experience, just drinking your coffee and reflecting.
I like it.
So I'll do it with tea, a little honey in it.
Okay. I like it. A little hot water and honey even. I'm not a big tea guy, so I'd probably lean to hot water and lemon or something. But
yeah, lemon and honey. It sounds like you could use some of that right now.
Yeah. I have a sinus infection for those of you that don't know. Anyway, all right. We have two more, I believe. Two or three, we'll say two.
All right.
Glenn has had many jobs. What was the strangest one? Now I don't want just a one dayer. You had to hold this position for at least 3 months. What do you think the strangest job you ever had was? Strange is relative, I know.
Strange is certainly relative. My gosh. Well, the hardest job I had,
okay,
which was kind of strange. I mean, not something that I was in between jobs when I was a young man, and I worked on a landfill, putting the tarp down on it, and then you sew these pieces together all the way up the hill. But I mean, you're carrying for like 12 hours straight, 50-pound bags.
Wow.
And you're just watching people drop off because they can't handle it. So that just kind of drives me to last. But and 1 month of that and you get shredded. So I needed sign me up for a landfill. I need to get shredded again.
I love it. All right, last
might be gone.
Last question, Glenn. You are you love steak. I know you do.
Mm-hmm.
So You get to sit down with a nice filet, nice meal. You get to invite, and they will accept 3 famous people. Now I say famous so our listeners know who they are. You get to invite 3 famous people. I'm not doing the whole dead or alive thing. They must be alive. They must be alive. We're going to go with must be alive. You get to go to dinner, say this weekend at your favorite steakhouse, and you can invite 3 people who will guaranteed say yes. Famous. Who are you inviting?
Oh boy. Well, I'm going to invite Mick Jagger, because that's got to be a great story, right?
I love it. Not what I expected.
And of course, Mick Jagger would probably want Warren Buffett there, because that'd be fun, right?
Okay.
That's a lot of money. I'm going to just bring lots of money to the table. And I'm going to bring Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
And why? Because he's an Eagles fan.
Okay.
That's cool. He's from around here. And he hasn't had a drink in some time. So it's something I have in common with him. So I'd like to,
True.
Especially in his position, that's got to be quite a challenge. So
that is fantastic. And that concludes halftime with the most random dinner of all time.
If I could pull that off, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Second half, we got, say, 5 to 10 minutes here. So
All right.
You kick it off.
All right. So we've covered a lot of, with the cyber and the employee problems with businesses. How does the supply chain issues come into play with your customers and what you're seeing out there in the business world?
I mean, supply chain in general, everything's more expensive.
Right.
You look
So
at the cost of everything.
The containers coming in. So
I mean, I look at a few things. I think we already talked about, actual cash value and replacement costs, but I don't have the numbers on this, but I'd imagine your property renewals might be a little more expensive,
right?
Or because of the value of your building to replace will probably go up because materials are more expensive,
right?
Like little things like that, I think are going to be an issue. The other end of it is people's budgets are going to be a little bit tighter because they're not having to shell out more for, supply chain stuff, where now these renewals, if we come in, used to be you come in 5% higher, it's not the end of the world. Well, it might be the end of the world if they're paying triple the amount for lumber. You know what I mean? So
right.
I think it affects a couple of them. I think it affects possibly some renewal numbers, but in the property region, but I also think it affects the budget of our clients.
Yeah. And really, the supply chain, even obviously the labor falls in the supply chain. And something I neglected to mention is what happens when you got to pay your workers more, and workers' comp is rated on payroll, right?
Yep.
So they're doing the same thing, same risk, except the rating value, what you rated on, has gone up.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, so there's so many things to consider.
It's not like other areas where you can, grade it on sales numbers. Well,
right.
If you have higher sales, that means you made more money that you can pay. That makes sense. But yeah, like you said, payroll, if you're just having to pay people higher.
Yeah. And some things are rated on payroll too. So there's so many things that are facing, with the supply chain, which includes everything. I mean, it's really driving costs. So I think it's, kind of super important what we do right now.
Right.
And, it definitely warrants, I think businesses looking at their risk management more often than they had in the past to control those costs.
Fantastic. I'm going to pull a question that Colin Cowherd actually asked Tom Brady on Tom Brady's podcast about a month or so ago. But I'm going to make it into our industry. Cowherd asked Brady if you could change one thing about the NFL. Like you have, for one day, you have one rule that you can stamp and change. Not necessarily rule, but you know what I mean? You can change one thing. You have the power to change one thing. What would it be? And Brady talked about, he thinks that some of the new rules to protect players have made worse football. And what he meant by that is, now when guys go across the middle, if they get hit even close, like in a bad way, whether it's the head or, blind side, whatever it is, the penalty bails them out. He goes, when I was first in the league, it was up to the quarterback to protect the players. I can't make that throw in there that I don't want to get my player killed. Like he said, he thought it has made people worse at football. Anyways, if you had the power to change one thing in our industry, it could be as little or as big as you want. What would you want to change in the insurance world?
Whew.
And to preference or to clarify, it doesn't have to be a rule like, oh, I wish this industry's rates were lower. Like, I'm not saying that. It could be the way business is done. It could be you think there's too much money spent on these, big chamber events. Like, you know what I mean? It could be anything.
Right.
You have to think you can. I can do the Jeopardy theme song.
So I don't know. I guess one of the things you could get some really bad luck on the work comp side.
True.
That affects your ability to get business, to stay profitable. So it could be. I mean, what do we have? We're currently, I don't know when people are listening to this, but in 2021, we've probably lost about 100,000 people to opioids. Well, opioids kind of leaks into the workers' comp, and people get these jobs and they go out with a back injury,
right?
Which you really can't prove or disprove. So then that goes, and then they're out of work, which is what really drives the work comp experience mod, which can affect a company's ability to
for years.
Right. So now we have this issue where you're desperate for people. I mean, it could just turn into a real difficult thing because so if I could find a way to take that part out of it, I mean, you really, I guess you can't, but it is crazy that if you get some bad luck and you get somebody and then that somebody brings their friend in and then boom, 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 you get some claims that destroy you.
Yep.
Just because of what a couple individuals did.
It's almost like it'd be nice if there was like a forgiveness act where your
accident forgiveness.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Your entire history would matter. And it's something you can't, file for this act yearly, but maybe each company one time in their history gets a chance to go in and say, hey, this is clearly not a theme with our company. I want to, file for the Forgiveness Act for our company on this claim or something like that. Like
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like then there'd be rules. Like maybe you'd have to, you can't file for the Forgiveness Act until your company's been in business for at least 10 years. And then, you get to file for it, every 20 years after that. Like, what I mean? There'd be rules. It wouldn't be something that would like let any claim be, well, hey, I can, that's not you. We're not used to that. Like, this is our first time having someone's head chopped off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, well, if you're just, if you're a clean company that just runs into a boom, 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 bad luck, and you have the ability to like, hey, let me erase this one to help, keep us above water.
It's so difficult. I mean, to prove.
Yep.
I mean, you have your suspicions and when it, like 85% that's what the case was, but not much you could do about it.
What you could do.
And then you got to pay the price dearly.
Yes, you do. Well, Glenn, that's our time.
That's our time. All right.
And I appreciate everyone who listened. Glenn, I'm going to turn this over to you, close it down.
Well, yeah. And also I want to, I really appreciate what 3Seed Marketing has done for us because they really make this thing looks good. Without them, it'd be really difficult. So, 2 thumbs up to them. Thank you very much.
They're the best. We're the idiots that just get on here and talk. They're the ones that actually make it look good when it comes out to you guys. So they're incredible. Andrew, Courtney, John, all of them.
Absolutely.
We appreciate everyone.
And my name's Glenn Amaral.
I'm Andy Phillips.
And till next time, what's in your playbook? Be sure to like us and comment on our social media platforms. Thank you very much.